Hello and welcome to Brazen. I'm very excited. Miss Allie and I, who I'm going to introduce to you guys here in just a second, we've already been talking quite a bit, and I'm here to tell you that if you have ever listened to Brazen, which I'm sure you have if you're here, but if you've ever listened to any episode where you're like, I need to sit and actually soak this one up, it's this episode. We are talking about everything in life, and when I say that, it's pretty interesting because the subject topic right before we pressed record was how important it is as a coach to understand that we are multidimensional human beings. We are mind, body, and soul. And once you have moved through a certain sector of your life, say physical, say mental, say emotional, there's other areas to look at. And when you take a full holistic approach, it really makes it a hell of a lot easier because then you don't feel like you're jumping from ladder to ladder. You simply understand that you're going up one rung at a time and it's the same motherfucking ladder. So it makes it a lot easier to celebrate everything, and it makes it a lot easier on the journey, especially when you have an incredible coach like Coach Ali, who is here with us today. Thank you so much for being here again, my dear.
Absolutely.
And for everybody who knows, which I'm sure is everybody, but just in case, Coach Ali is going to be joining us for the Women Rising event that is happening from May 6th to May 9th. There are still seats available, but they are limited. Please go grab your seat as soon as you can because she is one of our bonus speakers who will be there. And I just want to read this real quick, introduce you properly, my dear, because wait till you hear this, y'all. It's so good what you do with women, and I'm so excited for them to hear this. And then I would love to pass it to you so you can give a formal introduction on yourself, my dear. Coach Ali Sempek. Am I saying that right? I should have asked first.
Sempek, but yeah,
I
it's
got it.
one way or the other. I'll respond.
That was a pre-recording question, but it didn't happen. Coach Ali is an internationally certified wellness coach and founder CEO of her own women's empowerment company, Ask Coach Ali. After a decade of disordered eating and failing to hate her body skinny, we've all tried that. Thank you for being so fucking real about it, Ali. Ali craved more from her life than a smaller jean size. Today, she's changing the narrative of what healthy looks like by helping women transform their relationships with food and who they see in the mirror and more. So, Coach Ali, you want to tell them about the and more?
Oh, I would love to. I'm so happy to be back here. I don't remember when we recorded one of our first episodes. It would have been,
Like almost exactly a year.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
so much has changed. And we were just sharing before we hit record that so much gets to pivot. That is life, right? Like every goal that we have, once we reach it, there can be more if you want there to be. And what I was sharing with you before recording is just that I am in this space where I've worked with women for the last 4 years. I've helped, I mean, hundreds transform from counting every single calorie and weighing themselves every single morning to just total body and food freedom. And the most important, or I would say the most special part of what I coach is that moment where they realize, okay, if I'm not thinking about food in my body anymore, what's next?
Mhm.
What do I really want? And that really aligns with where I'm at in life right now, as well as just as a coach of, okay, what's next? How do I want to impact women further than I already am? How can I make that impact in a different and new way? So I am stepping more into the empowerment side of coaching that was ironically, it's a very full circle moment for me because that's how my business started. I walked
Really?
around and yes, I walked around and I told people I was an empowerment coach. And they looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Right? What does that mean? It was, middle of the pandemic, coaching and influencing wasn't really a thing yet. It
Yeah.
was very tip of the iceberg. And when I would say empowerment coach, they would look at me and go, so you're a life coach? Like question mark?
Yeah.
I was always so scared to say yes to that because there was kind of a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
And so I tried to say, "Oh, I'm a health coach." But then they'd think, "Oh, you're a fitness coach. You teach fitness classes or you teach nutrition." No, that's not really what I do either. I'm a wellness coach, right? So we're always trying to find these different identities, these different labels. And I really transitioned back into this place of going, no, I am an empowerment coach. I empower women to live happier, healthier, more confident lives and break up with the bullshit that's been holding them back. Whether that's your body image and food, or maybe that's your relationship history, maybe that's your career, right? As women, we are so expected in society to look and act a certain way.
Mhm.
And I love that even in my own life, I've stepped into this space of saying, why?
Yeah.
Can't I want more? And what does more look like?
I adore you. I truly do. I think that you may have been one of my favorite guests of 2023. That's pretty close. And honestly, the only other one could have been like a close friend of mine that I was already close friends with. But the way that you speak is so genuine. And I want to touch on that for just a second because it's one of the reasons I asked you to come and speak at the event because you're a real woman. You're not living inside of your coaching business, your empire. You're not living inside of that as a woman who's pigeonholing herself into this category. We learn, we grow, we only know what we know until we learn more and then we can apply it. And you're so real about that. And you hold so much space for people around you in such a beautiful way. And truly, it's really amazing what you're doing. And I know a little bit more before we press record about what the next venture you're taking is, which is so awesome. Which PS, you guys, she's moving, which I think is so cool. And I'm so excited to hear more about that. But it is really, really awesome. I want you to know from one coach
Yeah.
who has similar pillars of foundations in business, the integrity, the not just authenticity, but like being so fucking genuine and speaking from the heart and meaning it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being in this business because just like you said, at one point I was like, dude, coaching's bullshit or whatever. Like the feeling was like, I was like, I don't even want to call myself a coach. I just
Yeah.
made a post about this literally today and posted it this morning because I was feeling it so much. I was like, people need to know, like, I get it. When you are on Instagram, you're not shopping for a coach. Like nope, that's not really what's happening. Most of the time you feel a connection with someone and I
Yes.
actually resisted a lot of I've been called influencer, but in a certain
Uh-huh.
tone. And it makes my skin crawl. I'm like, yeah, if that's what, sure. Yep. Okay. If that's what you think I am, that's what you
And
think I am.
I actually had a coach and a mentor that I work with and I look up to. She said, but you are influencing people,
Mm-hmm.
but not to buy a product or
Right.
to change their outfit. You're influencing people to show up as their most authentic selves,
Yeah.
into their emotions, to learn how to communicate. And I had never really thought of it in that way because I agree. I didn't go into this to become an influencer.
Right.
And I think for a lot of us that are here for business purposes, right? We have a servant's heart for people. We get almost pigeonholed where we feel like, oh, do I have to be an influencer in order for this to be successful? Do I
Right.
have to post every single day? Do I have to share links and tell people how I did my hair? Which not that I don't mind those DMs,
Well,
but
no.
that's not what I do, right?
Right.
That's not where my bread and butter is. Um, but I do think it's really special that people feel so confident to talk to us, right? They feel
Yeah.
safe. It feels like a community where they can slide in our DMs and say, "Hey, I just have a question,"
Yeah.
rather than it being a space where they come and look at us,
Yeah.
right? Versus
Yes.
interact. Um,
Yes.
and I loved what we were saying before recording, and I'm excited to dive into this too. Of coaches are allowed to evolve because we're humans,
Mm-hmm.
right? I see it all the time. You see a ton of coaches that started out as maybe a health coach who are now a business coach. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think some people that's exactly where they should be.
Yeah.
But for me, it was kind of that negative connotation that you were just speaking on, is I'm like, okay, if I'm no longer fully aligned with where I started, does that mean that one, I have to give up or that I am not a failure, but like a fraud? Or
Yeah.
is it that I'm in another space as a human
Right.
that I'm transitioning, that I'm growing, right? Because we can only take our clients as far as we've taken ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's actually a big reason why this year has been like my make it or break it year in the sense of
Yeah.
challenging myself,
I
right? To
love that.
step. Thank you.
It is, it's incredible. Again, it's the genuine way that you embody the work.
Mhm.
And that's what the difference is. Like you said, like because it is a community, truly. Like the people that I see it a lot, like if you had any other business, like I use mechanic shop all the time. I don't know. I think that says a lot about me as a woman. Um, but like if you had a mechanic shop, you're going to advertise and market and promote your mechanic shop if you are a good business person, if you are a good entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And you and I know to be a good entrepreneur, you have to, especially when you have international businesses, first of all, you have to have some bravery. You have to have some courage. You have to have the biggest fucking I don't give a shit what you think or say about me. I'm going after my dreams mentality. We can go into that because that's a different level
Yeah.
of confidence right there that you have to grow and courage. But
Hmm.
you also like you have to be able to market yourself and know what that looks like, and also know when everybody, I know it sounds kind of like you had the same thing or you've witnessed it, expressed it at one point. Maybe I know I did. I saw people doing things a certain way online. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to do it that way. Oh, that's
Yes.
the only way. And I'm like, what the hell? No, it's my way. Like, let me just sing Frank Sinatra at the top of my lungs. Like, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to do it the way you like. If somebody tells me it must be done this way, that is
Yes.
a clear indication to me that I'm going to look further because that's a bold-faced lie. So
Yes.
thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that because I don't know about you, but when I feel like something is misaligned or someone, for lack of better words, when someone tells me what to do, I immediately go, nope, wall is hitting wall,
Yeah.
right? And I feel it in my bones of like, this is not right. This doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel easy.
Yeah.
And not that everything has to be easy to move through, but I mean like it doesn't feel in alignment. It doesn't feel like it is intentional with who I am.
Yeah.
Um, and I think being in the online space, and I think everyone can resonate in some aspect of their life, they've been told like this is the box you need to be in. And
Yeah.
this is how you need to act to be in that box. And this is how, you know, these are the steps you have to take in order to be successful being in this box and looking this way.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I have battled my whole life.
Yeah.
I was telling a friend yesterday that something that came up to me recently was this memory of how many times someone has told me to sit down, be quiet, and be pretty. Because
Mm-hmm.
that is what my job was. Sit down, be quiet, just sit there and be pretty. And it drove me insane because while yes, I'm aware of what I look like, I appreciate the compliment, but that wasn't what it was.
Right.
It was your confidence, your energy, the light that you bring to the table and you take up space,
Mm-hmm.
it's making me feel insecure. So
Yeah.
I want you to dim yourself so that I feel bigger.
Right.
Right? Rather than the way that you and I look at things as why can't we all take up space and be at the top together?
Right.
Empowered people empower other people.
Absolutely. And to be our true self. Like I was love this topic. I was actually having a conversation with someone, a very close person in my life recently about the difference between taking up space authentically and taking up space as an act.
Mhm.
And it's that transition that does need to happen. And you kind of touched on it before. It's an identity shift that has to happen. Like there is, sorry, I just saw my dogs were outside. So clearly my fiance's home. I was like, oh no, my dogs are outside. Anyways, when you're in that transition, whether no matter where you are on that barometer, right? If you're making a big transition saying, oh my gosh, I have to go fully from this, whether it was like you played small, like you said, or you dimmed your light, you became somebody completely different. You lost yourself in motherhood, in your work, in your this, in
Yes.
your that. You become that. And then you transition into the real version of yourself. And
Mhm.
you recognize, oh my gosh, it's not that I was trying to put on an act, but like you said, it wasn't aligned anymore. And it was like you were still trying to fit inside of a cocoon that no longer fit. And there
Yes.
is such a difference there because when you aren't taking up space inside of a cocoon that no longer fits, you can sometimes get louder and you can sometimes become more of the act and more of the thing because you're like, am I supposed to do it more? Am I supposed to be more?
Yeah.
Yes, but more authentic. And it does require, like we were saying, the expansion of saying, oh, it's not that I'm just getting louder, it's that I'm expanding out the things I'm looking at and the feeling and even the depths that I go, that's
Mhm.
the expansion. Um, I'm just so excited for you to be in the event and to talk about this, especially when it comes to the clarity part, because this is the clarity that you're feeling right now. I felt this as well a lot recently. Did you feel yours a lot in January for the identity?
Oh, girl.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
what's funny is I turned 30 in February.
Mm.
And, I love saying that I'm like the holistic realist mixed with like the woo-woo. I want to talk like zodiac signs and human design and all of that. I can deep dive. But I knew just like weirdly enough in my bones, I'm like, this year, turning 30, like a lot of shifts are going to happen. I
Yeah.
could feel it. And exactly what you were saying, I felt like I was in this cocoon that was warm and safe, and I understood it, and it was comfortable,
Yeah.
right? But we don't grow in the comfort,
Mm-mm.
grow in the discomfort, right? When we're safe and comfortable, that's lovely, right? But it might be holding you back from the life that you actually desire, or really what your biggest capabilities are.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, I definitely January, February felt this, knew that something was going to have to happen. And I know you alluded to this. Um, but I just started taking trips. The last year, I have traveled more than I have probably traveled in my entire life.
Love that for you.
Yes. I mean, I went to Australia. I had never used my passport. I went to Australia for 2 weeks. It was fantastic.
Oh, I can't imagine how it wouldn't have
Right? There's really no way unless the bugs and the reptiles came
been.
out, but didn't see any of those, so we were good.
Yeah.
But I really was just challenging myself to say, okay, maybe see if there's another space that feels aligned or inspires you. What type of
Yeah.
people, feel aligned and inspire you?
Yeah.
What, activities you want to be a part of? Like, what really sets your soul on fire? And then when you asked me to speak on the event and you're like, hey, by the way, this is what I'm titling it, it just clicked. And I thought that is what I do,
Yeah.
right? Provide clarity and confidence to these women in all aspects of their life. They
Yeah.
might come to me right now in body image and food freedom, but that's just a very small sliver of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
And like I shared with you before we started recording, it's if you're not thinking about your body and food, what opens up for you?
Right.
What do you want your life to look like? What do you actually want? Right? And so I even asked myself that same question this year of, okay, I've been doing this for, 4 or 5 years now. I have changed a whole hell of a lot since I was 25.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, yeah, a lot has changed. Not to mention gone through an entire global pandemic, moved back to my hometown, started my own business. And I was looking at over the course of those 4 or 5 years, you know, am I still aligned with who that person was that started this business?
Hmm.
And if I'm being honest, no, right?
Yeah.
Because I've outgrown her, and not in a bad way. She's still a piece of my story, and I still want to bring her with me.
Yeah.
Also want to be able to say, you can be even more. You can ask for more. You can learn more. Like let's pivot and find what excites you now. So I decided to take a contract position because I'm a big advocate that just because you're a coach doesn't mean that that has to be your only career.
Right.
I- if you looked at my LinkedIn, you would laugh hysterically. Jobs and the things that I have done and tried.
I feel like we're in the same. Have you also done the bartending gig?
I've been a bartender, I've been an account manager, I've been a marketing coordinator, I was a wedding planner for a while.
Love that.
I've been all over the place, and the commonality was always that I wanted to work with people.
Yeah.
I wanted to help people feel seen and understood and heard in whatever capacity I was in.
Yeah.
And so I was offered an event planning position, and it's a 3-month contract. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let me uproot my life. I'm going to pack up my car and my dog, move down to Dallas for 3 months, and really see where it takes me. Right. With coaching and the other aspects that we get to dive into further,
Yeah.
still a big part of who I am. I want to try a new city. And why
Yeah.
not?
It would almost be silly if you didn't, you know?
Absolutely. That was very much how I looked at it is why wouldn't I? Right? If
Well,
we're if we're
yeah.
if we're looking at the pros and cons,
Right.
and I know I am if anyone has watched Gilmore Girls, I am the perfect mix of Rory and Lorelai where I need a pro con list, but I also want to overdose on caffeine and probably have too many sarcastic comments for someone's taste. That show was like my lifeblood
So
growing.
good.
But when I looked at it, I'm like, will this allow me to grow?
Yeah.
Will this stretch me in a new way? Will I get to try something new? And okay, if I don't like it, cool. I move on to the next thing, but it allows me to learn. It allows me to take my clients even one step further, right?
Yeah.
And then I also shared with you, I'm going to go into more public speaking. So I'm super excited. That is a business that I've been wanting to open up in the last couple of years. I love talking, if you can't tell. I truly, I love the face-to-face contact.
Mhm.
I want to be in a room where the energy is palpable, right? I want to be in more of these events where I get to see the transformation happen in front of me. So I'm super excited to step into that this year too.
Okay, you're so good at it. That's why you love it. And vice versa. You love it because you're good at it and everything in between. It is so cool the way that happened too, because when I asked you to come and speak at the event, you're like, I literally have been calling this in. Like I said, this is what I want. And it was
Yep.
so neat. It was such, I always think it's so awesome to be very aware of the divine orchestration of life. Like whatever you want to call it, you can call it on the science end, the spiritual end, the woo woo, the not, it doesn't matter. But when it lands and you're like, well, son of a bitch, like that's really cool. And when you said that, and when you said yes, especially because I definitely watched some of your new reels and like got caught up a little bit more on where you were because we all are always growing. To think, just a side note to all our coaches out there, if you think you're going to stay the same coach forever, I mean, you could if you really wanted to, if that's your vibe, but most likely you're going to be like you are in all areas of your life and you're going to shift and you're going to grow and you're going to want to talk about different things. Because just like Ali was saying, you're going to get to a point where what you were talking about at one point felt so good, it's not going to fit anymore. But
Right.
when we were talking about this, it is so important to me for us to discuss what it means because we come from different angles and we talk about the same stuff. Like you come from more of the nutrition side, the food side, the body side, which we've talked about before. I am totally down with. And the fact, it's not the best way to say that, but I guess, in the fact of, I also went through quite a bit of disordered eating and overcame a lot of it. I
Mhm.
come from more of the mindset side, which again, you've been there too, but those were our perspectives, our area of genius. Like that's what we had really had to conquer. And
Mhm.
now that we're sitting in this space together, you helping women in this event identify their limiting beliefs, identify their patterns, identify these things that they've been stuck in so they can shift into more confidence, so they can not just shift into their courage, but bolster it and recognize the fact that it's always been there and
Yeah.
that they can grow it like a muscle. You,
Mhm.
with the confidence and the clarity and the commitment and the courage coming in as something you were already really into, I just think it's going to make the event 10 times more powerful.
Yeah.
And I
I,
hope
I couldn't agree more and not coming from, oh, I think I'm great.
you are
I,
great though.
well, thank you. I think it comes from a place of just like, it's something that we need to talk about.
Yeah,
Right. And I know that a lot of it has grown in the last couple of years, but more now than ever, we need women to recognize that everything that they want, everything that they've dreamed about, it's tangible.
it is.
Can have it. I actually said this to a friend the other day. Um, we're both in our 30s, we're both single, and we both do want to get married and have kids at some point in our lives. And she had mentioned to me that she's like, I just am starting to think it might not be in the cards, that this might not be a part of my story. And I told her, do you want it to be though?
Yeah,
She's like, yes, absolutely. I said, great. I don't believe that anything is placed on your heart that you're not allowed to have. That would be cruel. And I
right,
don't believe that we live in a world that says, okay, this is something that you just inherently, like you innately desire.
right,
It's very different than being like, well, I innately desire a really rich husband with a yacht. Well,
right. It's a
yes,
different desire.
that would be nice, but that's a little bit different than what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
I truly don't believe that if you have something on your heart that you desire, that you crave, that you know innately is a piece of who you are,
Yeah.
I believe it's absolutely possible for you to have it. But a lot of us won't take the steps to get there.
Yeah.
Right. Feel stuck in the way that we've always done things, the places we've always lived, the people we've surrounded ourselves with,
Yeah.
that we shrink ourselves. And a quote that I love that I know that you will totally align with, I say it to my clients all the time, is stop shrinking yourself to become more digestible for others.
Yeah.
They can fucking choke,
Yeah.
right? Like allow yourself to step into this bigger, bolder, more empowered version of who you already are
Yeah.
that says, this is what I want, and I'm allowed to have it.
A fucking men. Absolutely. Um, what you were just saying too about the desires in your heart. So
Mhm.
I'm definitely the type of coach that's like, my feet are dirty right now. Like while we're recording this, like
Mhm.
my feet are dirty. I'm going to go back outside and I'm going to probably get my fingers dirty again. Like that's just who I am. So I always think of things in more of like a gardening or plants or something along that line. And so when I think about it with the desires in the heart, it really makes sense to me to see it as like a seed that's
Mhm.
in there. The desire is the seed, the want, the true heart centered want, right? That's soul driven. And you're not even sure why you want it so much. And you can feel it in your whole body and it makes you light up and smile just thinking of it. That is the seed. And the only reason that thing's maybe not growing is back to what we were saying, the limiting beliefs, the old patterning, the old bullshit that we agree to, that we continue, the stories we hold on to, all these fucking things. And as soon as we stop
Mhm.
believing all that and listening to it, as soon as we create more of a boundary with that voice of fear in our head and we start to identify what we want to listen to and what we don't, that's like pulling the weeds out of there. And then when you fertilize it and you're believing in yourself and you're taking action and you're not waiting for confidence and courage to show up because you recognize that first you have to take action and then that shit grows. Like once you do that, that gets the ball rolling. So like I love that you said that because again, it's just always cool to me when women come together. That's why I love these events. P.S. This is always available to you to come whenever you want to come. We do a summer and a winter one, and you're always welcome. But
Sign me
it's it's always incredible to me when women come into this because again, we're all teaching basically the same thing, but from our perspective through our lens. And I just love the way that you speak to your clients about that. You know, you wouldn't be given that. It would be so cruel to think that you live in a world where something your heart so truly wants that's so intentional would be something that you're not allowed to have.
well, so intentional and so pure.
Yeah.
And I love the phrase, where you place your intention is where you place your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I see that within my own coaching is these women, experience this habit change, this transformation within who they are and the habits they have, whether it's around food or it's around movement or it's around their career, the way they communicate. These things transform and evolve. And they're like, Ali, I didn't even realize it was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're placing your intention on those things in a pure and authentic way, right?
Yeah.
We're not trying to force anything. We're not trying to punish ourselves or restrict other things in order to get what we want.
Yeah.
We're saying yes and,
Yeah.
right? I loved one of my former coaches told me if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I've truly
Absolutely.
lived my life now that way of if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Well,
Right?
your former coach and I would be besties because mine is if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no.
Yeah,
So I dig her.
love each other. I love that. But no, I do. I truly believe that you and I do something that um is maybe confusing to some people until they sit in it.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, it's really just a space for someone else to listen to what I'm going through and give me perspective and guidance and take me just step by step. Because when I look at our future selves, it's just a bunch of right nows piled on top of each other.
Yeah.
That's truly what it is. And we tend to look at our dream life as this big, intangible goal that we could never get because it's just too far off, rather than looking at like, who are we being rather than what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where the resistance and the stuckness
Mhm.
for the most part lies is in order to shift. I mean, this is personal experience with clients, just being a fucking human and seeing it. Like, you can only shift into the being when you become well enough versed in the language of the doing. And in order to do, you have to clean up the residue and the mess inside. There has to be clarity inside. For me, I'm very much in the woo and very much in the science. So, like, clear up your fucking chakras, my girl. Like, get your shit lined up. And, maybe go get some energy work done. Maybe go to a therapist. Maybe go to a counselor. Maybe go take ayahuasca. Like, do you and clear your shit so you can know what to do so then you can become. Because once you feel comfortable becoming, like you said, if you're in the energy of, like, let's say you have a 5-year goal and that 5-year goal is to own your own storefront. Okay. Like something you can imagine yourself standing in. And if that's your 5-year goal, and every morning per se, you decide, I'm going to just envision myself standing in there. And then you pay attention to what limiting beliefs pop up. Those are your fucking keys.
Yeah.
Those are the keys to success. Those limiting beliefs, when you're visualizing yourself standing there, like, you're not good enough, that'll never happen. If you look at that and you flip that thing on its head, like you do, like I do with clients, they're able to look at it and be like, holy shit, once this was a limiting belief that I believed, and it probably kept me safe, and it likely got me to where I am. And
Yeah.
I can now be done with it because it's part of the old cocoon that no longer fits anyways.
I
And
don't
when,
need it anymore.
yeah, and when you flip that, when you recognize that, and you are embodying the being, I mean,
Mhm.
be present, y'all. Don't always live in the future like this, please. That's how you don't appreciate where you are. But when you're putting yourself in that future space and being that future version of yourself, you can really evolve so quickly in life and get to where you want to be without the extra effort. Like growing up in a society that teaches us you have to work 90 hours a week and suffer, suffer, suffer in order to get, that's a fucked up way to live, y'all. Like, and I'm here to tell you, just like Ali, that's not the only way.
Right. I mean, gosh, if you had asked me, I think it's absolutely asinine that we think 18-year-olds should be able to decide what they want to do the rest of their lives.
Right.
And I look back at who I was at 18 and what she wanted. And I remember someone asking me, what do you want to do in college? And I was very blessed to go to college. And I said, I want more. I have no idea what I want to be or what I want to do, but I want more than the typical 9 to 5 and 2.5 kids and
Yeah.
living in the suburbs and doing the same thing the rest of my life. Like I want more than that. And I think something that's interesting that I see with a lot of my clients is that we think that when we want more, we're not content with what we have.
Mm.
And I disagree. I think you can be so content with the life that you have and the people you have in your life and still want more and want to grow more and experience more, right? Those are two beautiful pieces of the same puzzle.
Yeah. It's it's quite a box to, leave one and put ourselves in again, to imagine that we did all that work just to have it one way or the other.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make any sense, honestly. And like that in itself, it requires the identity breakdown. Like, as we know, we are just talking about, like, you never want to be like, fuck, I have to look at all this again. But each time it gets easier. Like each time in the realm of the cocoons that we were talking about, the cocoon gets less and less dense. It gets less and less heavy. It's easier to remove. It's easier to integrate.
Uh,
Like, you recognize what parts of you want to continue taking with, because just like you were saying, like, deep mindset and deep shadow work is still very much part of what I do and always will be. It's
mhm,
just not the main focus.
mhm.
And I just don't know. I mean, maybe it's because we're women, or maybe it's because society, maybe it's because it's the beliefs. I don't know. But it's weird that we'll take ourselves out of a different box to shove ourselves right back in another one sometimes. And I'm really grateful for this conversation, because I feel more women need to hear other women. Again, please go sign up for the event. It's
Come
this
hang
times a
out, get a
million.
good time.
But like, just to know from other empowered, successful women who have done deep work, like that's our job. Like,
Mhm.
y'all, the only reason we can teach is because we do and we be. So
Ab-
like, it's huge.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said of, I think women need to hear, you don't have to settle
No.
for being where you are and what you've had and think, well, I guess this is good enough.
Yeah.
And if you don't want it to be, it doesn't have to be, right?
Yeah.
I love to ask myself the question, why and who says,
Yes.
right? And I know we're almost out of time, but I love that, you and I have even touched on that I'm in the same phase of asking myself again,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I'm having a little bit of an identity crisis, figuring out, is this a smart move? Is it financially intelligent? What would be easier and safer? Would it be
Yeah.
stay put, right? Would it be to keep doing what I've been doing, working with clients I work with, stay in my hometown? But that's not what's in alignment for me anymore.
Yeah.
And like you said, we get better at it each time we do it. And where something like that would have sent me spiraling for probably weeks on end, years ago, right? I'm in a space now where I had a day where I felt overwhelmed. I spiraled a bit. I called my support system. I talked through things, right? I gave myself another day to really work through some of the ideas that I had. And now here we are. And I feel great.
You're a fucking powerhouse.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, you're welcome.
Trying to be just like you, Heather. Come on now.
I mean, I'm just trying to be like the woman before me. So like we're all just in line together, girl.
Yes, I love
It
that so much.
it's so nice to have you on. How much do I have about 5-10 minutes with you? How much time do I got?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. Because I wanted to ask you a couple of like Coach Ali's 101 things that you're going to touch on in the event about courage, confidence, clarity, and commitment. So to hit on all four of those, what can they expect? I know your main ones are the clarity and the confidence, but I'm sure you're going to touch on everything because it's all involved. What can they expect to chat with you about and interact with you on?
Oh, I love that question. I think a really beautiful place to start is this idea of, not even envisioning what your dream life is yet. It's asking, who are you and where have you been? Right? Like we talked a lot on this episode is, what are the limiting beliefs that you're currently holding on to, whether
Yeah.
they're keeping you safe or keeping you, stuck, whatever they might be. We have to understand, what are those first? How do we shift them? How do we rewrite that narrative? And then one of my favorite pieces of it is, who do they actually belong to?
Yes.
Who taught you those things, right? Give those back, because then the clarity and the confidence can come more naturally when okay, why have I believed this?
Yeah.
What do I believe now? Who can I become with this new set of beliefs? Right. And I think when you're saying, I love that you have the four different pillars. But when we look at confidence and courage, I think kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Similarly to what you said earlier, confidence it's a practiced skill.
Yeah.
It comes from knowing your innate worth, right? And courage is saying, I have no idea what might happen. I don't know when it might happen, but I know the why. I
Mhm.
know why I want it to happen. Right. And that's something I'm excited to dig into with all the women that are at the event of, what is your why?
Yeah.
What is the thing that sets your soul on fire? Because then you're going to have so much clarity and confidence around that, because it embodies who you are, right?
Yes.
Rather than trying to step into something that you're not.
Oh, I'm so excited. So I haven't really spoke to you too much about it. We're going to do it right here, right now, as we're live on this. The other guest speaker, her name is Anne, and she's actually a good friend of mine. And she was one of many of my healers and more guides as I was going through another stage of my spiritual awakening, which was just bananas. And I wasn't expecting that. And she showed up in my life as, our guides and teachers always do. And she was just such a wealth of knowledge then and continues to be. And I was telling her about this event, and she is a very skilled energy artist. And what she's able to do, her gift, like we all have one, is she's able to sense the energetic blocks inside of people. She's able to sense them, understand them, and she draws them out, and then she can help identify. And basically, she gives you this drawing that's a complete drawing of symbols that make sense to you as you're looking at it, of where you've been, where you're going, what you're overcoming, and it gives you this blueprint. So it's very woo-woo and
Yeah.
also very scientific. So I'm very excited because, again, we're all coming from different angles for these women that show up for this event. Like, hey, you pick your poison. How do you like your coaches? Like, how do you like your guides and teachers? What information do you want? Because everybody's different. And like, there was a time in my life where I was not using Oracle cards nearly as much as I do now. And I guarantee by the end of the year, I'll barely touch the box again. Like, we all put stuff on a shelf and we all grab it at different times. And I just feel like all the women that'll be in this event internationally will be able to feel the connection, which is, as you know, as I know, the most important part of all of this, the connection, the community. Like, they'll be able to be like, oh my gosh, Allie's the woman I've been looking for. Like, I am so excited to work with her. And that's what happens in these events. Like, recently, the winter one last year, we had Katie Hendricks on there, and she came in, she did the 5-week retreat with me in the spring. Her business just blew up bigger than it ever has. And she's like, I've just been in front of so many people. I'm like, that's because you took a fuck yes moment and you ran with it, my girl. Like, that's what happens when you find people outside of the normal area that you're in and women come together, and it is a rise and help each other rise type of environment. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you there.
Be open to the opportunity. You
Yeah,
know what the opportunity is,
right.
but be open to allowing space for the opportunity to present itself.
For sure.
I
And
love I'm
just
so
so
excited.
me too. And just so we all know, I bring this up because, as many people know as well, if you've ever looked into this, I don't know if you know this, Allie, it'll be either on day 2 or day 3. It depends on how it flows with the clients, with the women that are in there. We have women come forward and promote their businesses with the
Mm,
understanding that it's the women there that see and hear them. It's the women that are going to be watching the replay. It's the women that are going to purchase this years from now. That's the women that are going to come to your page and see it.
yeah.
Like, they have an opportunity for thousands on thousands of women to hear their story, to hear about their business. And it's all because they showed up within an event, and it's this type of energy. So it's one of my favorite things to host several times a year. So thank you so much again for being there.
Absolutely. I am so honored that you would even allow me to be.
Yeah.
I
Girl,
just
I was honored that you said yes. I was like, she will do this. She's amazing. She's a fucking powerhouse woman. I'm honored. Thank you.
love that. I totally agree with you though. I think there's just something so unique and special about having women in one space that are excited to learn and grow and support one another.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
That is the entire mission.
Agreed.
I
I've
love it.
talked to you now on 2 podcast episodes, and every time I speak to you, I learn something new. You are a wealth of knowledge. I'm just beyond grateful that you're going to be there, my dear. And just a couple of things, you guys, as we're leaving, some of the big pieces that she had written down, and I want you to see if maybe this will fit into the area on your journey that you're on. Maybe you will be joining us during this event. She's really going to be talking about shifting limiting beliefs into bold confidence. And also, these were like what we were going to talk about, but we pretty much covered them today in the podcast episode. So whatever she's not covering in the event, I am. Discovering what you really want and how to get it, challenging the narrative and claiming your dream life, body image and self-acceptance, the gray space of loving yourself now and craving more. And as you guys know, one of my biggest pieces is let's cut the fucking bullshit out completely. Look at yourself, mind, body, and soul, break it down, identify where you need to be, where you're going right now, where you want to go in 5 years. It's time to cut the shit, because that's when we're able to actually get down to business. So, all right, my dear, last thing that we always say is I ask the listener to treat themselves well and to treat others very, very well. That's how we end every single episode. And I would love for you to chime in. How are you going to, I don't want to say dare them, but how are you going to challenge them to treat themselves well and treat others well this week?
Hmm. Just showing yourself love through respect.
Hmm.
Right? I love kind of the idea of loving yourself healthy. And
Hmm.
that comes from a space of, I always, growing up, I hated myself skinny, or I was trying to, and I failed every time.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to love yourself healthy, right? Showing up for yourself, showing yourself love, taking care of the only body that you'll ever have, doing small things that prioritize you. That is self-love,
Yeah.
right? That is respect. That is health. So just show up for yourself this week.
I love that. Allie, I will be seeing you in just a few short weeks, my dear. And I'm so excited for us to work with women from all over the world. Thank you again for being here, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.